Greetings, vac fans. Welcome to my, and I use this term loosely, retro Dyson whole house cleaning. Now this machine is only from the early 2000s, think like 2004, and certainly that doesn't normally classify as like retro or classic or antique, but I imagine in Sir James Dyson's mind, since this is not one of his newer ball machines, it would probably qualify as such. This is my very first Dyson. I got it at no charge, and what it really needed was a general service and a cleaning. And this is the animal, and I even got these handy dandy little attachments. So here's an upholstery attachment. The bristles are somewhat few and far between, but they are soft. They are very soft, so I imagine you could use them on a wide variety of surfaces without harming anything. This has an on and an off, depending on what you want to do here with getting this thing to spin at certain speeds. And here is the hard floor tool, or you know what, you could use it for carpets, I suppose. Well, let's see if I get this right. Okay, so that right there is in the bare floor mode because it goes pretty easy here. Now, I don't use this very often. There we go. I flipped it, so now it'll go over the carpet without sticking. So, there we go. And then here's what this thing actually looks like. Everything is in really good shape. I don't think this was used that much. The machine isn't too beat up. I think the bin's in pretty good shape. It's a little cloudy, but it's not bad. So let's see what we got here. So here's another upholstery tool. Something that's not like, got anything spinning with the turbine per se. And I remember using this when I first got it, and this seems pretty good. It's in pretty good shape. Here's a nice little dusting brush. And I think the coolest thing I saw about this was this angle right here. I mean, it twists right at this joint. Goes in all different kinds of angles, and this is medium soft. It's not super soft, but it's not stiff at all. So this is definitely flexible. Not bad. When I did get it, it was very, very dirty. And what was so funny, since it was my first Dyson, I was so excited to get it. I took this out, and you see what a lovely green this is? Lovely spongy green. This was solid brown. It was as brown as that vent grate, and it was thick and solid brown. So both sides of this was completely caked, and even in the center right here. For a few seconds I thought, well, they have a nice brown filter in there, and then I started cleaning it. And it came back to the original green. And as far as I know, I think this is the original filter. So this might be like 12 or 13 years old. Here's some of the cyclones. Of course, everything's clean right now. After all these years, I hear in some cases the little seal that's right here, it's a little like a foam or a foam rubber seal, that can disintegrate. This one happens to be in great shape. No problems there. So everything's in really good shape here. The HEPA filter, I think I actually replaced this because it was old. You can see how wonderfully white that is down there. I think I did get a new one of these, but the filter up in here, the green foam one, I left alone. Motor's in great shape. All the seals are good. See, I got a little bit of dust around here. Use these for a few tests. So not bad. Let's see, we got this cord back here. It's a really long cord, and I love long cords because I've got a fairly sizable house, and this thing might be close to 40 feet. Maybe it's 38, but in any case, anything over about 35 feet I really like because I only have to plug it in once per floor. It's really cool. And I have to admit, when I first got this thing, I wasn't too sure what to make of this. This thing keeps rubbing up against my shirt and kind of sticking to it once in a while because when you transition back and forth with this, with your foot, the airflow comes on and off and periodically kind of sticks to whatever it gets near. And I had a hard time figuring out how to release this thing when I first got it. I wasn't too sure, and I had to look it up because I'd never seen a release mechanism like this before. So it's obviously very easy for me to use now, and boy is that a long stretchy hose. I mean, that thing I think stretches out a good 12 feet. Really something. And it was a little dirty in there. The previous owner I think had cats, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. So let's take a look at the front again, and you've got carpet and bare floor switch. I guess you can technically kick that with your foot. Of course, here's some little foot rests, so you can adjust this from carpet to upright mode. Let's turn this over. Here's the brush roll. And oh, by the way, before I forget, the nozzle CFM on my airflow box is 59. Out of all my 3 Dysons, I have this 14, a 25, and a 65. This machine has the highest airflow. This is also a really huge opening. The airflow density, even though it's 59, which is kind of bleh anyway, is really, really low when you consider the square inches, the area of this. It's got a neat little suction channel right here. Does a great job on my bare floor test. You can take a look at that in previous videos. We got some big wheels here, lots of tubes and gadgets and doodads, so a real technological tour de force, I guess, as they would say, and pretty impressive for 2004. So now that I got this big mess on the floor here, let me put it all together and let's get going, because I've certainly blabbed long enough. Look at that, almost 7 minutes non-stop without taking a breath. Oh, by the way, this is my highest suction vacuum I have. At the hose end, not at the power nozzle end, I've measured 112 inches of water lift. That's unbelievable for an upright vacuum. Let's take a peek. No, I just walked on it. The carpet lines. So that's what you get. It's not as bad as you think. I can't really say that it's lifting the pile, really. It certainly disturbs the pile. And it's one large, wide swath. It's continuous because the rug plate's open. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's okay. I'm wondering, you think I can actually use this to go under the bed? Huh, well, let's try it. What do we got to lose? Okay, how weird is this? Well, that's the first time I've ever done that. I guess it worked. I don't know. You tell me what you think. It does help when you turn the brush bar on. Doesn't really go under furniture. Too tall. But it's very easy to turn, although the handle's heavy. This is really easy to push, but the handle is heavy to hold. Well, it was so weird to use that crazy tool. I'm going to try it again on carpet. You have to angle it, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I suppose it works. I don't know. Okay, well, I don't know. It's going to be awkward and probably isn't the right thing to do, but I'm going to try this right on top of, I'm going to try this DC14 right on top of doggy bed number 1 and see what happens. Well, I suppose it worked. Let's see if it picked up a bunch of stuff. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to have to pick this out of the brushes. So that might be a little too difficult to pick up. It might be a little too rough or something like this. But let me switch over to one of the attachments here. Actually, we got several to choose from. So let's see what happens. I'm going to take this off. Don't need something that long. I'll put an attachment in here. See how that works. Whoa. Yeah, that's the problem with the stretchy hose. If you stretch it out like that, it can make this come down a little bit on you once in a while. So, gotta use two hands here. Alright, well there's that one. That was pretty good. Let's try this guy here. That stops it. And you have a speed switch down here. If I can work it. Oh, that made a difference. This is slowing down. This is slowing down a lot. It doesn't like this fabric at all. Yeah. Try to slower speed. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure you heard this. Using this, even with the speed switch set up high, well, to #1 position, I guess, the bristles just slow down, almost stopping, and I'm not putting any pressure on it. I'm just, letting it sit all by itself. So not really good. I wonder what this does. Hey, we're doing crazy things, so why not keep going? Okay, that appears in that position. That appears to be a little too harsh. Now let's try that. I don't think that's actually supposed to fit in there all that well. You've got a couple of air relief holes in here on both sides. I'll just cover them up with my hand so I don't have to go and put this big long aluminum thing back on here. Well, it's pretty ridiculous. Whoops. It's pretty ridiculous. It sucks to it though. Okay, so how would I rate all these different things? We've got the vacuum itself that we tried. We got this floor tool, and we got the upholstery tool here. Oh yeah, and this other, the manual upholstery tool, non-air driven, non-turbine. And this was the worst. Boy, this thing's really bulky. I mean, it spins and whatnot, but it slows down way too fast. So that's a big thumbs down for this guy here. And this, it wasn't as bad as you think. It's ridiculous to use, but what can I say? It did work, as far as I can tell. This is the easiest thing to use right here. This is nice. This was the most pleasant thing to use. And this You know what? I bet you this would probably be the highest performance on this right here. I mean, it is the animal. It's got a brush roll that's meant for dog fibers. Well, the only thing is it gets a little too much of these loose fibers itself. It kind of rips this up a little bit. So even though this the nozzle will certainly clean this, it'll end up cleaning the fibers right out of it along with the dog hair. So I'm going to give the big thumbs up to this guy right here. I think this is probably going to do you the best. Gee, what a surprise. All right, let's clean the rest of the room now. All right, before I start, I got to pick up the brush roll scrapings. So I picked the stuff out of the tufts. I'll vacuum these up. Swinging around here if I don't run over the cord. You know, one thing that I never liked a whole lot about this series of Dysons was the wonderful high-pitched squeal it makes. I have it minimized as much as I can. It doesn't bother me a whole lot, but I still don't like it. see which one is going to work better. This was great. Let's see what this does. Yeah, this one is good. This one sucks. Okay, so we're now done with the first, the second floor. Well, the first floor we're doing is the second floor. So let's take a look and see what we have in here. You know, that doesn't really look like much. I'm not seeing a whole lot of fine dust. I mean, there's some, but that's not a whole lot. I'm seeing carpet fibers for sure. And I'm certainly seeing our dog Rosie's bed. That's the white stuff in there. But I'm not seeing a lot of fine dust. All right, down to the first floor, which will be our second floor. shorter pile. Let's see if it tears it up or leaves it alone. So the brush roll is actually pretty clean to the white stuff. Let's see what happens. That went a lot better, so I think. All right, let's see what we got. Yeah, there's nothing. It didn't pick up any of the stuff at all. And we'll see in a little bit just how much dog hair and whatever other debris it managed to pick up. So that works so well, I don't think I'm going to bother to actually use this with it. Let's see how this does on this thin rubberback mat. We need a second person, or can we do it all by ourselves? Well, looks like we need some applesauce. Alright, now we have a 3-pound jar of applesauce. Let's see if that's enough to hold it down. I'd say that works. And of course, you know, the DC14 has this nice little feature here. Right now it's on carpet, but you can flip it over to bare floor, or I suppose you can do it with your fingers. That'll turn the brush roll off and go right over bare floor. If I'm remembering right, bare floor performance was actually quite good. So we can go under the chair a little bit. Not a whole lot, but some. Alright, last room. Here's where I would normally say here ends the whole house cleaning video using a Dyson DC14, but how about we go take a closer look at the dirt so you can compare with the DC25 and the DC65. Alright, now the fun part, kinda. Let's see what big mess this thing's managed to pick up. You know, it's looking better. I was kind of wondering if it was picking much up on the second floor, and when the first floor added to it, it seemed to be better. But let's find out. I think that's pretty much about it. A little piece escaping over here. There we go. So, you know what? That is very, very similar, I think. Take a look at that. Very similar to the DC25 and DC65. But go take a look at those videos to refresh your memory. I think it's less, but it's not that much less. We definitely have some good fine dust pickup. Not bad. The cyclones have a little bit. Let's see if I can show you the inside. There we go. Yeah, about that. Of course, I got to blow that out. Otherwise, that's going to completely clog. And well, there shouldn't be anything in here. I was going to say, absolutely no, there's not going to be anything here in this motor filter. But let's check anyway. You know what? It's a tiny little bit. Right there. Just a little bit. Nothing on the other side. Hey, you know what? Some hair made it in there. Huh? How about that? I don't think you see that in the newer Dysons where there's a little bit of hair that made it in there. So they've made some improvements. This doesn't really have anything in it that I could see, or it's too fine to see. So, what do you think? This was something. So I have machines, that is Dysons, from 2004 to 2015. So that's 11 years of Dysons. This being my first one I picked up a couple of years ago. And they're kind of interesting machines. They certainly don't deep clean, and they don't do that well with sand in the carpet. Bare floor seems to be okay. But they're certainly popular, And this is a testimony that if you take care of them, they do last. So hope you enjoyed the video. Until next time, happy vacuuming.